Hi, it's Teresa from Dodge Nature Center, and time for another Nature to Go. This is a great time of year to come out and explore prairies. Here in Minnesota, if you go to pre-settlement times, there were over 18 million acres of prairie. But now we only have a little over 225,000, and a lot of that is because prairies have been restored. Places like Dodge, Dakota County, and lots of other organizations have taken time to bring prairies back. And this time of year is when a lot of those plants are blooming. So get out and check out the prairies, and that's what we're going to do on this episode of Nature to Go.
The color that's dominating the prairie right now is purple. So let's start by looking at what those purple plants are that you're seeing.
This purple plant, which is really prolific across the prairie right now, this is Bergamot, also known as Monarda and bee balm, which is pretty evident from all the bumblebees that are zooming around it here. So this plant is also known as Oswego tea because the plant can be used for tea. It's part of the mint family. If you feel the stem is square like all mint plants have. In Revolutionary times, people used this plant to replace the tea that they refused to drink from the British. Here's some more purple, but this time we're looking at anise hyssop. And if you hear the word hyssop, that might make you think of licorice. And sure enough, if you crush one of the leaves on the stem, you're going to smell a licoricey kind of smell. Licorice.
This is vervain. The flowers start blooming at the bottom and work their way up to the top. The seeds of this plant are super important for birds and for mammals. And it's also a host plant for the common buckeye butterfly.
Here's another purplish plant. This one's called lead plant. And do you see those little spots of orange? Those are the stamens, which makes this fairly dramatic looking plant out on the prairie. It's got these fern-like leaves to it. And as it ages, the purple disappears and you're left with sort of this gray color. And that's where it got its name lead plant from. This plant was nicknamed the devil's shoestrings by the pioneers because the roots are incredibly deep, like 15 feet deep, very intertwined. And so as they would be trying to plow a prairie area for farmland, the plows would get all messed up in the roots of this plant, the lead plant.
Now you might think you're seeing bee balm, but actually this plant that you're seeing is called prairie onion. All you have to do is crush the stem a little bit and you'll be able to tell right away. This is prairie onion. One last plant here is blazing star. Now more of this will bloom as we get later into the summer, but blazing star is a purple plant that the monarch butterflies love. So if you're thinking of putting some kind of a prairie plant in your yard, go with blazing star. They love it. All right, let's look at the yellow flowers that are in the prairie. This is gray-headed coneflower, also known as yellow coneflower. As is true with many of these prairie plants I'm showing you, this one is particularly important as a source of food for butterflies and for bees. It's also one of our taller prairie plants, so it kind of stands out and is easy to spot.
All right, here's another yellow plant. This is prairie rosinweed. Why is it called rosinweed? Well, because inside it has this resinous substance. The Native Americans would collect it and kind of use it like chewing gum. It's considered a really valuable plant because pollinators love this, especially solitary bees, one of the many kinds of bees that we have here in Minnesota. It's very drought resistant, so it's able to handle it even when we have super dry weather. A great way to identify this plant is to feel the leaves. It feels rough like sandpaper, and that's how you know it's not just one of the sunflowers.
All right, on to orange plants. Yeah, we have an orange plant on the prairie. This is butterfly weed, member of the milkweed family, used by monarch butterflies as a host plant for their caterpillars.
Once the orange flowers are done blooming and the plant has been pollinated, these pods form, and that's where the butterfly weed seeds will develop and then eventually pop out and fly out onto the prairie.
Okay, one last plant. Look at this hillside. what is that stuff that's sticking up all over the place? This is one of my favorite prairie plants. This is Rattlesnake Master. The base of Rattlesnake Master plants kind of looks like a yucca plant, and the leaves have these little spiky parts coming off, but they're soft. They don't hurt you at all. And then the top has these very spiky balls that are very attractive to pollinators. People long ago thought they could use this plant to treat rattlesnake bites, and that's why it was called Rattlesnake Master. So, did we actually talk about all the plants that are blooming on the prairie right now? No, because depending on which prairie you go to, there are going to be different plants that are blooming. And even from year to year, what plants are blooming on a prairie can change. For whatever reason, this year, bee balm is reigning. It's everywhere. It's very prolific. And you're not finding so much of purple coneflowers this year. The prairies, they're beautiful this time of year, something you want to take in and enjoy. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Nature to Go, and we'll talk to you again next time.